These are the best opportunities in property for 2025.
One of the biggest headaches at the moment for anyone in property or development is planning. The planning process is diabolically slow. In actual fact, even permitted development can be diabolically slow. Social housing, obviously we're in a Labour government. When you look at supply and demand, if you were in any other business model and you looked at supply and demand, that would typically be the area that you would focus your time on, and there is huge demand for social housing. The Labour government will support affordable housing, so it's definitely a space which will continue to grow. Assisted sales. I wanted to share this as just some areas that we're specifically focusing on to deliver in 2025. You might have heard the phrase like course junkie or strategy magpie, where you just don't know where to go with the market. Fundamentally, we have done and will be doing all of these consistently. For an example, permitted development. One of the biggest headaches at the moment for anyone in property or development is planning. The planning process is diabolically slow. In actual fact, even permitted development can be diabolically slow, but it's not 2 years, it's 2 months too slow. So that is a great area of business to be in. As a guy who I actually spoke to over Christmas, who won Property Investor of the Year at the Property Investor Awards this year, he works in land assembly, and he was just saying he's so put off by the delays in planning, he's considering not actually doing it anymore. And he's, obviously won awards from doing this, and we're seeing exactly the same. And the more you can avoid permitted development, the better. The more you can avoid full planning, the better, because you've got more control of time your end. Social housing, obviously we're in a Labour government. When you look at supply and demand, if you were in any other business model and you looked at supply and demand, that would typically be the area that you would focus your time on. And there is huge demand for social housing, and Labour government will support affordable housing. So it's definitely a space which will continue to grow in popularity. It's kind of like, if you don't do it now, you're probably going to join the party too late. Assisted sales. Now, assisted sales, what keeps happening with the residential housing market is the government keep the 3% second home housing surcharge that the Conservative government put in place was a temporary measure to put in place. That's now been up to 5% surcharge. So something that was temporary is now essentially 40% more than it was. It's gone up from 0 to 3% to 5%. So this actually supports assisted sales really well. So if you're buying a residential property, there's a huge cost associated to acquire that building and put it in your own ownership to deliver it. But if you can offset stamp duty by doing an assisted sale, which is where you get an agreed contract with the seller, you don't buy the building, you agree a lock-in land value. So let's say they're looking for 500 grand, you can only make the numbers work at 400 grand. You agree to pay them 500, but from the sale proceeds, once you've joint ventured, you've brought the skills and expertise and funding to deliver the refurbishment, development, whatever it may be. Sell the site at the tail end, deduct the value of the land that you locked in for the owner, deduct all of the costs to get there today, and hopefully the profit margin will be greater because you haven't had all the acquisition costs to get on site. So I think that's a great opportunity at the moment if you can't get houses to stack as flips or developments, if the acquisition is a residential house.
Sorry to interrupt. If you're new here, this video has probably been pulled from one of our live video broadcasts where we show insights into our 6, 7 and 8 figure businesses. We're live every week showing the inner workings of our business, sharing tips, templates and strategies that you can take away and use in your own business to help you grow and be more profitable. If you've not checked it out yet, head over to the live section on our YouTube channel where you can see all of the back catalogue of videos where we cover everything that you need to be a successful entrepreneur and a property developer. Back to the video.
4 years ago, we did an explainer video on what an assisted sale was, because that was a strategy we were doing back then. It was good then, and it's even better now, and it is going to be even more prevalent going forward because of these stamp duty changes. So if you do want to understand more about it, it's in one of our playlists called Education, Become a Better Property Developer. That's what the thumbnail looks like, and it's called What is an Assisted Sale? So yeah, do head over there if you want to learn more detail about what an assisted sale is.
If this video resonates with you and you can take away just one thing that makes your business better, then creating this video would have been a success. If you are getting value, click the subscribe button down below. It would mean so much. Back to the video.
Peter's asked a question as well. With our aging population, have you looked at assisted living and care homes, or is this too far removed for focus on HMOs? I think assisted living and care homes is a great market and great market space to be in. Our social housing is kind of supported living. Aging assisted living is a huge market, and I think there's really good opportunity in that space. It is a very unique product. So for an example, we could have a permitted development scheme that could be an assisted sale and social housing and a HMO all in one. So there's not much deviation of product change. So it's very easy for us to control what we're doing and put it into those different specific areas. Whereas typically for assisted living or care homes, it's purpose built, which is kind of fine if the demand's there. There's a site in Henley which has got a failed application for assisted living because there's too much assisted living in the area. It still carries risk, even though there's strong demand for it for an aging population. So I would actually say it's a great area to be in, especially if you're going to niche in that area. But for us at the moment, these other strategies fold way better into our existing delivery and our existing skill sets without having to completely start from scratch and, take additional risk when we're, still growing. And that will probably be a nice to have as part of the portfolio one day.
I completely agree. I do think it already is massive, and it's only going to become an even bigger part of the market because we do, like you say, have a massively aging population. And I think things will change in terms of how that looks. Technology coming in and the aging population now being way more technologically advanced than they previously would have been. I think there's opportunity to kind of create a bit of a difference there in terms of a niche and a standard product that you produce. But it's definitely something on my radar for the future. Like Jack says, we're way too kind of busy and engrossed in what we're currently doing to kind of start venturing into that because it is very specialist. But it is absolutely something that I want to be doing in the future.
Sorry to interrupt. If you are tuning into this, love the idea of investing in or developing property. You have at least £50,000 cash, but don't have the time to deploy it, then why not consider investing in one of our XP projects? We're always raising more investment for our property pipeline, so head over to our website and register your interest to work with us now. Back to the video.
Next point is HMOs. So as buy-to-let's getting more difficult, doing HMOs and integrating your developments into like cluster HMOs is a great way to go to hold stock. It's super difficult to hold blocks of apartments now and make them worthwhile keeping because the equity just sits there getting a terrible return because of interest rates, and fundamentally buy-to-lets are difficult to make work. I actually find it easier if you buy a buy-to-let and add value and do a refinance as a standalone. We've done a few of those in Central Suites. Let's just assume you make 25% return on GDV, which is a huge return after finance costs. That's a good place to be in. Then you refinance it on a 70% LTV mortgage. You've got to put money in, and it probably doesn't cash flow that well. And to put it in perspective, our £3.5 million development scheme, which won 2 awards, has £1.45 million worth of equity stuck in the deal, nets a similar amount to what some of our higher performing HMOs, which are, buy for 400 grand, spend 100 grand on them, and refinance that's 700 grand. So the risk, rewards, the cash flow, HMOs have always been strong. You do the work once and you get paid every month for a very long period of time, rather than in development, you have to refine the deal, the investment, the bank, et cetera, et cetera. And last but not least, don't get distracted by everyone running and flying around for all these different strategies. Lean into your skills. Don't park your skills for something that you think is going to be hot and spicy, because in 3 years' time, it probably won't be hot and spicy. Lean into what you're good at, have competitive advantage working in your favor. So for an example, directly at Peter's question, if you've coincidentally been a site manager in a care home business and delivered multiple care home businesses, great. You're even better fit in that space where we would be uneducated on what needs to be delivered, what the compliance looks like, etc. So lean into your skills, and ours is finding and designing value, and there typically are sort of 2 skill sets, and fortunately we can sort of get the best out of both of those in these particular areas.
If you got value from this video, make sure you click the subscribe button down below and ring the notification bell, because we release 1 video at least every week to be the first to get notified. See you on the next one.